Well, boys, the jersey is here. The Dansby Swanson Cubs jersey finally came in the other day. First video on with it for when we go to Chicago for a Cubs game. But in today's video, you're probably wondering what we're doing for today's video. And today, we are going to be predicting MLB games, the weekend games that start on Friday. So, before we dive into that, if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to drop a like and subscribe so you guys don't miss out on any of the latest videos, including the basketball tournament video. Tomorrow's video will be one of the last videos before we film that and then edit all of that. So hopefully you guys will enjoy the basketball tournament, and I know I will because I'll be competing in it as well. Winner gets prime and some cash as well. But regardless, let's hop in to some MLB picks for this weekend. Alright, so the first game on the table for us is the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Detroit Tigers. This one's going to be a very, very close series. I think that these two teams are really, really good. Their records show that they're really good as well. They are better than they have been in the past. So far, that is leading up to the All-Star break as well. But for this series, I'm picking the Detroit Tigers at home to win this series as well, because it's at home. The Tigers have been unstoppable at home, really. So I'm picking the Detroit Tigers at home in this one against Arizona. Moving on from that, though, you got Tampa Bay hosting the Rangers. This one is going to be really, really interesting to watch. I'm invested in this series more because the two teams are really good. I really need the Rays to absolutely sweep the Rangers for the Astros' sake, but I'm predicting the Rays to win, but it's going to be 2-1 as well. I think both teams are going to win one game, and then Sunday will be the rubber match as well. I'm predicting that Tampa does indeed get the series win at home, though, just because they're at home, and I think that Tampa is the better team. Started out like it, and I think they're going to finish down the stretch like it as well. Moving on from that, though, you got Kansas City and Baltimore. I'm taking the Orioles here. They are flat out the better team. Kansas City is absolute garbage. I think it's been shown. I think they've been a disappointment to MLB for like the past 3 or 4 years. So, since Austin Riley got traded to the Braves. So, I'm predicting that the Baltimore Orioles will get the dub here against Kansas City at home. I think they'll sweep the Royals here too as well. Moving on from that one, though, you got the New York Mets and the Pittsburgh Pirates. This one could be interesting, but I'm taking the Mets on the road here. I think the Mets are really, really good. Or actually not as good as they were last year, but I still think the Mets are really good. It's a two-team battle for second place in the National League East. They're only about 3 games back from the Braves as well, though. I am taking the New York Mets on the road here against Pittsburgh. Moving on from Pittsburgh and New York, though, you got LA and Philly. This one is going to be a very interesting matchup. Bryce Harper versus Freddie Freeman and the Dodgers. I think that the Dodgers are going to go on the road here and sweep the Phillies, though. I think every game is going to be close, but I think the Dodgers eventually will have it in the bag, and they will sweep the Phillies here in Philadelphia as well. That's my hot take for the weekend, but I just see it happening. I think the Phillies aren't as great as they show on paper. I think the Mets are better, and I think the Mets need to find it going if they want to win the National League East, which hopefully they don't, so hopefully we get it with the Braves. But moving on from that one is Boston and New York. This one is a rivalry game, so I'm interested and invested in this one. Think it may be Sunday Night Baseball for that week as well, but I am predicting that New York takes the dub here at home. Aaron Judge, been hot all season long. Expect that to continue, and I think that the Yankees are going to eventually, they're finding their footing now with everybody, but I still think the Yankees are going to take the dub here at home. It'll be a 2-1 series win for them as well. Moving on from that, though, you got Minnesota, the Twins and the Toronto Blue Jays. I've got the Blue Jays here. I really like the Blue Jays with Vlad and George Springer. I really like their squad this year. The Twins are god-awful this year. They're just one of the disappointments out of the season so far in the Minnesota Twins as well, because Last year, they made the playoffs. I think everybody was expecting them to make it this year, and so far, they haven't lived up to that hype here. I am taking the Toronto Blue Jays in a complete sweep, actually, against a struggling Minnesota Twins team. Moving on, though, you got the Houston Astros going into Cleveland. I am picking Houston to win this series. I think we've got that one in the bag, and I think that the Guardians are not really a great team to watch. But this one's going to be interesting, as I think Guardians will get out to a 1-0 lead, and then Houston in the series, and then I think Houston is going to come back and win by 2, or win both games Saturday and Sunday, and then I think that Houston is indeed going to take the dub over Cleveland Guardians. In Cleveland, I just think Houston's the better team here, even with Altuve being hurt, which I think he's back now. Haven't really been keeping up with that, but I think Altuve is indeed back now, so I think that the Astros are going to take the dub against Cleveland. Moving on, though, from that, you've got the Atlanta Braves taking on the Washington Nationals. Braves are going to we're going to flat out sweep the Washington Nationals in this one, I think, because I think we swept them opening weekend too, if I'm not mistaken, or they won 1 or 2 games in that 4-game series, but I got the Atlanta Braves sweeping the Washington Nationals here. I think it's bound to happen. I think the Nationals aren't that great of a team. That's showing why they are in last place in the National League East. But I've got the Braves sweeping the Nationals here. Moving on, though, you've got an interesting matchup here. Miami Marlins, who are actually really, really good this year, and the Chicago White Sox. I'm going to take Miami in this one, and I think Miami is going to sweep the Chicago White Sox on the road, actually. I think Miami's got a really, really good, solid squad this year. Expect Miami to keep getting wins throughout the season, though. And I think Miami, though, is going to sweep the White Sox on the road, which is crazy for me to say, but I think it's bound to happen for Miami. They're really, really good. They're second or third. They're one of those two teams who are tied for second in the National League East. Marlins, really, really good this year. I like their squad, and I'm taking them to sweep Chicago White Sox. Now, moving on from that one, though, you got Oakland and Milwaukee. Come on now. Milwaukee should flat out sweep the Oakland A's. They are first place in the National League, or in the National League Central. I think that the Milwaukee Brewers should, in fact, sweep the A's. Now, the Braves should have done it earlier this week too, but obviously they let them get 1 or 2 games in the series. So I'm expecting the Milwaukee Brewers. I'm expecting the Milwaukee Brewers to take the dub here at home. It's again at home against a struggling Oakland A's team who could be moving to Las Vegas soon, as we've heard as well. But moving on from that is the Cincinnati Reds and the Cardinals. I've actually got the Reds here on the road. The Reds are actually halfway decent this year. So I'm picking the Reds to beat the Cardinals. Cardinals have been struggling as of late recently. They've been falling on the decline because of that Albert Pujols loss from last season. I'm expecting the Cincinnati Reds to take a series win here, actually. 2-1, in fact. I think the Reds are really, really talented this year, and I think if they can keep finding that momentum, then they will make the playoffs, and I think that they will, in fact, get the series win against St. Louis. But moving on from that one, you got San Diego and Colorado. The Padres have been an absolutely disappointment to the MLB this year. I think everyone thought that the Padres were going to be really good, which it's first place in the National League West is right now heading in the Giants' way, and LA is shortly behind that. They're third in the National League West. Now, granted, they were competing in the East. I think that they would be above the Braves right now if they were competing in the National League East. But they are competing in the National League West. But I am expecting them to take a series win here on the road against Colorado. I think that they should indeed get the series win, if I'm not being honest right there. But moving on from that, you got the Angels and the Seattle Mariners. Both teams really solid. This one is going to be interesting to choose, but I'm taking the Los Angeles Angels at home because obviously they're at home. They've got Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani. this is the year that I think the Angels make a deep run in the playoffs as well. I'm saying that on camera right now. That the Los Angeles Angels are going to make a deep run in the playoffs soon this year as well. Moving on from that one though, the final series, the last and final series, is the Chicago Cubs going in to the San Francisco Giants. Now granted, I'm taking the Giants here on the road, or at home, because number one, they're in first place in the National League West. The West is the hardest division in the National League right now, and Chicago is actually third right now in the National League Central standings behind the Cardinals and the Brewers. But I'm taking San Francisco to sweep the Cubs. As much as I don't want it to happen, I think it's going to happen that the Giants are going to sweep the Cubs. But that is all for my MLB weekend prediction. Anyway, that is going to be all for today's video. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you guys don't miss that drop of the basketball tournament coming soon. Very, very soon. In fact, I think I'm going to spend an entire weekend editing it as well. But regardless, be sure to drop a like and subscribe so you guys don't miss out. This is Thursday's pre-recorded video, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video.